Hey guys, I have another comparison for you today. Um, it is of the Spyderco Tenacious and the Kershaw Zing Tanto version. Um, Let me just tell you how I do this. I compare two like knives, but not identical knives. Too often I see two identical knives being reviewed, and it doesn't really give you a good sense of which one you should buy. And you might be deciding between these two. These are two good blades. Um, I will give you 10 categories that I review: sharpness, the opening, the closing, the lock, the clip, the blade, the handle, the grip, the price, and the ergonomics. Each will take about a minute. Down in the description, it will tell you where each is and where you can just skip if you just want to hear about the ergonomics or just about the handle. You can just skip right down to there, and you can do that. I will give you an overall grade, and what that overall grade means will also be down in the description. Let me start off with the Spyderco Tenacious and sharpness. This sharpness, I gave a 10. This sharpness, this can shave. Let me see if you can see. I'm not sure if you can see on my arm, right about there, right where the blade just touched. It shaved that hair off. So this is shaving sharp. That is definitely good sharpness. Anyone knows shaving sharp is what you strive for. That's why this got a 10. This is super, super sharp. Now, let me close that. And now for the Kershaw Tanto Zing. Now, this sharpness I gave a 9. This sharpness is really sharp. You will not be disappointed with this sharpness, but it can't shave. I've tried. So, you don't get shaving sharpness, but you still get good sharpness. So it cuts through cardboard like butter. So, you will get good sharpness, but not shaving sharpness. Now for the open. What I like about how it opens is the flipper. The flipper, you see that? Comes out really fast. This is not spring assisted. So the fact that it does that is really impressive. You don't need to do any wrist action, it just flips open. But what I don't like about the open is this thumb stud. This thumb stud is really hard to use. You saw I had to kind of put a little oomph. As you can hear in my voice, I had to hold my breath a little bit. So that dropped it down to an 8, but if just the flipper, which is what I'm primarily going to use, is a 10. Now for the Spyderco Tenacious. This open, I gave a 5. The reason why I gave it a 5 is because of this hole that Spyderco loves. I won't be buying a Spyderco again, but this hole makes it so much harder to open. You can't flick it open, and even with it slightly open right now, you can't flick it right now. So you really need to move it all the way, and I don't want that. That's why I gave the opening a 5. Now for the closing, I gave the closing a 7. The 7 is because when you put the lock down, it gives. So that's not good. You could cut yourself. As I said, this blade is extremely sharp. And then another thing about the closing is you need to overcome, like, the liner lock is already disengaged, and you still need to really push to get out that. If I've disengaged the liner lock, I only want to put pressure at this point right here and then go. And then for now, the Kershaw Tanto Zing, I gave this close a 6 because of this little hiccup right here. Let me see, you guys could probably even hear the click if I get this close enough. Hold on. Hear that little click right there? There's a little resistance you need to overcome right there. So you close that up, but then it closes fine, but that's not good on the closing. Now for the lock, I gave the lock a 7. You're going to see that a lot with me with these liner locks. They're very basic, very easy, very simple, very cost efficient. Both these knives cost me about $30. I'll get into that in the price. But, that's just a basic liner lock, so I gave it a 7. That's a C. That's average. Nothing too special. Just closes, It's a solid lock, but it's just a basic liner lock. Now, for the Spyderco Tenacious lock, again, I gave this lock a 7. Same reason, basic liner lock. Nothing really too, fancy about it. It probably disengages better than the Kershaw Tanto Zing, but again, it's just your basic liner lock. You're not going to get anything too fancy out of it. It is just a liner lock. Cost efficient. Again, right around $30 for both of these knives. Not really anything too fancy. Now, the clip. I gave this clip a 6. This clip is way too big. I like my clips being about a third to about 2/5 of the handle. This is about a half to 2/3. This is way too big. It's going to be bulky out of my pocket. The clip is supposed to be kind of discreet. This is going to stick out. That's not good for the clip. But for the Kershaw Zing, I gave this clip an 8. You see, it's encroaching on about half, but it's right about that 1/3 length or 2/5. So it's not bad. It has the Kershaw wording in right there, so if someone looks closely, you are advertising. So that's one thing I gave it, but it's a nice, solid clip. Gave it an 8. That's a B. A B is still good. I am a tough grader. B is still a good grade. Now for the blade. This is what I'm going to get into. You're noticing that I'm calling this the Zing. If you're looking at the Zing for round tip or plain edge or whatever you want to call it, it has little grooves right here. The Zing, the Tanto version, doesn't have that. So that's one thing that I graded down on the blade as an 8, but I like how there isn't much fanciness going on, but it maintains a decent amount of thickness. So it's not fancy, but it gets the job done, and that's all I need for the blade. Now for the blade on the Spyderco Tenacious. I gave this blade a 6. I'm biased towards Tanto blades. This is a plain edge or round tip, whichever one you want to call it. So that's one thing that I look at and I go, that's going to get a downgrade. I cannot find this in Tanto form. And also, I just think this is unnecessarily large. You don't need all that blade. Maybe they moved all the blade that they had in here and moved it over there, but you don't need all that blade. Now for the handle. This handle is G10. Everyone's going to think, oh, G10, he must have given it a 10. G10, give 10. But I actually gave this a 9. And you're going to notice that the G10 is not necessarily the most it's highest quality, but I think it's overrated. I can't tell the difference between the glass-filled nylon blade on the Kershaw Zing, and that's the only reason I gave it a 9 was because I think it's overrated. Now for the Kershaw, this handle I gave a 10. For the exact reason, it's glass-filled nylon, but if you blindfolded me and had me feel both of these handles, I wouldn't be able to tell you the difference. I would tell you that I'd probably guess and maybe guess right 1 out of every 2 times, 50-50 shot. But I give this handle a 10 because it's glass-filled nylon. You don't have to pay more for it, but it feels just like G10. Now for the grip. This grip I gave an 8. It fits pretty well in your hand. I have pretty small hands. And the pocket clip doesn't really get in the way. The pocket clip is rather flat, so the pocket clip doesn't get in your way when you're holding it. But your fingers are kind of jammed. It's just enough room for you to hold, and the glass-filled nylon handle feels really well, so feels really good. And then you could hold it reverse grip. That works just as well. Now for the Spyderco Tenacious grip. The grip I gave a 9, just because it's bigger, so that gives your fingers a lot more room. And the one thing I don't like is this clip here rises up. That's probably why I got a 9. But you can still hold it just below the clip, and you still have plenty of room for your fingers, your hand, whatever you need. There's plenty of room on this handle. It's a pretty big handle, so the grip works pretty well. Now for the price, I gave the price an 8. I bought this for right around $30, a little over $30 off Amazon.com, and you can get your money's worth. The blade is super sharp out of the box, which isn't a big deal for me, but might be for you. But I do like having a blade super sharp out of the box. Means I don't have to go and then pay for additional sharpening. And then the G10 handle, it's made in China, so they probably got for cheap. $30, good price for this one. For the Kershaw Tanto Zing, I gave the price an 8 as well. Again, good value. I don't think it's anything, amazing, which is why I got an 8, which is why the Spyderco Tenacious got an 8. This is just a good quality knife for your money. There's nothing really too special about it. For $30, it's a good buy. You won't be wowed, but you won't be disappointed. Now for the ergonomics. The ergonomics on this one, I gave an 8. I really feel like this works well, mainly with the blade, the pocket clip. Again, the handle is a little small if you have any decent sized hands. I have small hands for a guy my size. I'm about 5'10". That will be the handle will be too small for you, but everything else about it I like, except for this as well, this thumb stud right here. So the ergonomics got an 8. Now for the Spyderco Tenacious, the ergonomics I gave a 5. Now you think that's probably too harsh because it has a G10 handle and super sharp. Okay, that's fine. I don't really care too much about the handle or the sharpness. I can always sharpen a blade. This hole right here is worthless, and I think is a way for them to save money. This pocket clip has that rise right there. So that's one thing I don't like. This liner lock is, good, but at the same time could be better. So that's another thing I give. Now the overall grade for the Spyderco Tenacious is 72 out of 100, which is a C-. So be wary about this blade, but if you like a super sharp blade with a really nice handle, this is the blade for you. It is perfect for that. Now for this one, this Zing, the Tanto Zing, I gave this one an 80 out of 100, which is a B-. I like this knife. It is my second favorite knife as of right now. It is a nice knife, and you will not be disappointed with this knife.